What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of DevTalks with your host Travian, where we talk about everything engineering and technology. And this episode is going to be big, man. There's a lot of news that came out around Apple. They just had a whole event, a roadmap got leaked, and so much more. We're going to get into it. Just want to dive into it as quick as possible because there's a lot. And I don't want to really make this episode way too long. So thank you for everybody who's been supporting lately. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. If you have any hot takes in tech, man, drop them. Drop them in the comments. I'm there to talk to you guys, get ideas and things like that. So let's dive right into this and see what Apple's been doing because it's been type scary. All right, so let's go. Let's go. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope we're all doing right. But as I said, there's a lot to go through. Apple's been doing some spooky things. This is their third event in a year. And me personally, I never knew Apple did an event this often. I feel like this year is a little weird. Maybe they do two normally a year, but at least one for all like the new product releases because Apple drops a new iPhone pretty much every year. So I know that they will have these events every year. It makes sense, but now paying attention to like what's going on in the tech world and everything, this seems like a lot because what did Meta give us one event this year only? Like Apple's been doing its thing. They're just coming out with a lot of stuff. And this whole event was basically all surrounded between the M3 chip. And I know what some of you may be asking because I did a whole hour long review of when the Vision Pro came out. And that they were talking about the M2. And maybe the M2 didn't come out this year, but for me, it was something new. And I was learning a lot about it. And I was like, I just talked about this new chip and they did dive into these chips. So I think M2 was actually new this year, and they're already on the M3 already. That's really wild. Um, they're making some progress. They're moving fast with everything, and they're at this point they're releasing laptops quicker than they can release new phones. It's also weird because trying to understand what exactly is new and who this is for, you really have to figure this out, man, because it's either this they either release this as a money grab or they release this as something that's really just, hey, it's an upgrade from what we were working on. We found a way to make it even better. It just took quicker than we thought it would. And here we go. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. But that's just off the top of my head what I'm thinking as far as the whole thing. But like as I said, so they started off the whole event talking about the M3, the M3 Pro, and the M3 Max. There's no Ultra. Note to self for that. That's one of the things that I really noticed because I knew when the M2 came out, they had an Ultra, and it was for certain devices. So just based on it having no Ultra, this M3 chip, one, it's too soon for them to have built an Ultra for this, and two, this is only going to be used for certain devices. And what devices are they trying to target to try to boost some sales or whatever? Um, and we're going to get into those devices later because that was all the whole second and third part of the event. The event was not very long. It was about, it would take about a nice half an hour or so, maybe a little bit longer than half an hour. And a lot of people were complaining at the time it came out. It came out at 8 o'clock. Normally for me at 8 o'clock, that's my gym time. So I had to go to the gym a whole hour earlier that night just to catch the event and still have to rewatch it so that I can get all the information right for this episode. So here we go. Um, so basically, just for this portion of that episode, it took me well into over an hour and a half just to plan this accordingly and get down what I'm going to talk about and all of that fun jazz. But in case you did miss this whole event, there's a lot of information about these new not trips, chips that have released, being the M3. So for starters, these are the first chips with 3 nanometer technology. So obviously, they're able to do a lot of the stuff within these chips a lot smaller, a lot more compact, and do a lot more, add more cores, GPU, add a bunch of different stuff. in within these chips to make the performance even better. And that's just something that's so great, so wonderful, that everybody's trying to strive for. And that's the goal that they're going for. So and you really notice it, like throughout life, you see TVs get smaller, you see a lot of other stuff get smaller. How are things able to perform? You gotta have to figure out how to compact and make stuff work in a compact way, better and more efficiently. And this is one of the ways that they're able to do this with this new technology that they talked about. And then one of the main changes that they said about this M3 chip is the whole GPU. The big changes come to that. Basically, it uses some dynamic caching, um, and where also the memory is being used in real time, and so it's being used as it's needed, and it's able to like cache everything accordingly, so that there's no waste and it's not doing too much or taking too much from a certain place that it does not need. um, just as a quick explanation and stuff. But some of the other things that this does is it does a lot of mesh shading. Mesh shading is basically geometric processing. So a lot of different shapes and objects, being able to process them and then their movements and a bunch of different stuff like that. That's what mesh shading seems like it's about. It's a new term for me, so I'm learning a lot about different things. And ray tracing, which has to do about realistic lighting and how lighting is basically impacting and affecting the environment around scene maybe. So that's some stuff about like the main extras that it provides for this. And some of you be asking, like, you hear stuff like this and you want to know, like, well, who is this for? We're going to talk about who this new chip and these new PCs are mainly for, and laptops, because there's pretty much a standard on a focus on this whole event on who they're talking to. And I don't believe it's for the average people, even though they did say like college students and stuff. But it's this kind of performance is definitely not needed for like the average person. But as I said, we'll get into more of this later, because you can just tell we're already starting off with graphic stuff this quick and fast and early in the episode. Um, so one of the things that this chip does, they do a lot of comparisons. One of the the entire event since M2 just came out, what they did is if you only listened to the event, you would only think the only chip other out was the M1. They never mentioned the M2 really at all. As you said, the M2 just came out. If you want to notice a the differences between the both of them, I have the stats here so you can listen and hear the stats. But they did show images comparing between the M2 and the M1 with the new M3s. But every time they were talking, they only compared it to the M1 because they really want to sell how big of a difference it is from their older first chip compared to now with Apple Silicon. So that was also very funny of them to do, because you're trying to sell something, so why not compare it to your oldest products rather than the newest ones that just came out? Because it's showing the most upgrades, it's showing the most advancement and stuff rather than showing the least amount, because you literally just came out with a chip less than 6 months ago, and the new laptops there for them as well too. So getting into the statistics of the whole chip, so it renders 2.5 times faster than the M1 and 1.8 times faster than M2. So seems like rendering speed, as far as like the videos and stuff like that, that seems pretty decent as far as both chips go in the line. Not too crazy, but it's still a great. It's still to get 1.8 out of the next generation. That one's good. But when we go into this stuff over here, like for example, the performance cores, they for the M1 are 30% better than the M1s and 15% better than the M2s. For the efficiency cores, they're 60% better than the M1s and 15% better than. Oh, no, no, no. Reading wrong. 50% better than M1 and 30% better than M2. So for the efficiencies, M1 to M2, you have about 30 to 50% better, but for performance, it's about 15 to 30% better between the chips themselves. And the chips themselves is very important to remember it on this kind of scale because if you don't think of it as the chips themselves, you may be thinking it's the whole hardware entirely. But no, they talk about the whole laptops as a whole and stuff like that later on. But just so you know, for these exact chips, if you're trying to notice the difference between the two products, these are what you're thinking about. This is the what changes. This is what's better. And there's a whole lot more that goes into it. Like I have a bunch of stats here. That's why I got mixed up on the percentages already earlier. So also for the neural engine, it's 60% better better faster than M1 and 15% better than M2. So this is one of the things that I was saying they're trying to oversell it because if it's only 15% better than M2, maybe if for the whole neural engine, maybe you don't need the M3. But if you're on the M1, then maybe it's a good upgrade because 60 to 15%, that's such a wide range of differences. And you get to see why they are comparing stuff to the M1s only and why they want to keep this format. For so the M3 as a whole, so the M3, the standard chip, that one has a 10 core GPU, 8 core CPU, and it's 65% faster than the M1. So the standard M1, because for each chip there's the standard version, there's a Pro, and then there's a Max. And then the M1 and M2, I believe, have Ultra versions, but the M3 doesn't have an Ultra, so there's no statistics for that yet. Um, we also, so for the M3 Pro, it has 18 core GPU and 12 core CPU, and it's 40% better than the M1 Pro. And then for the Max, M3 Max, it has 40 core GPU and 16 core CPU. It has 128 unified memory, gigabyte unified memory, and it's 80% faster than the M1 Max. So as I said, like they didn't compare for this here, these CPU and GPU core statistics, they didn't compare them to the M2 at all. And they only compared I wish I had a little bit of extra time. I probably would have went through the M2 presentation and looked at all the statistics for them to see for these kind of statistics, but they only brought up the M1 just to show you like these bigger numbers because I bet for the M2, the if anybody wants to do the comparisons, they're probably not that great. They're probably barely any difference. You're not going to notice as much of a difference. As I said, they came out with this pretty early. So maybe if they waited until next year, early next year, when they have a little bit more releases, and have a bigger release, then it could probably perform better. But this is what they give us. I guess they're trying to rush through these chip versions and figure it out. Hey, we might get a new chip every year at this rate. Like the M4 might come out next year. If you want to bet on that, then bet me because I got my money on that. Just like their iPhones, their chips are going to be like the iPhones. New chip, new year, new iPhone, all of it. Every single year they're going to drop like that at this rate. But that's enough for the whole chip, new M3 chip. That's about the gist of that. There's but if you really notice so far, there's just such a big emphasis on graphics and video. And as I said, they're only comparing this to the M1 over the M2. So now we're gonna move on to like the whole MacBook situation and stuff. So the M3 Mac Pro, that's gonna have 8 terabytes of storage, obviously, and then maybe it's not obviously, but just so you know, 8 terabytes of storage, and they're looking about 128 gigs of unified memory. Just so everybody knows. So now we're gonna go into the statistics between the M1 Max compared to the M3. This is another thing. They once when we get here, we don't hear about M2 or any M2 visuals really too much. I think there's probably only one Or no, there's a few of them, I guess, but it's really not too much. So the 14-inch M3, which is the standard version of the M3 chip, that Mac is 60% faster than the 13-inch M1 and the 40% faster than the 13-inch M2. So there's no 13-inch for the M3. It's just not on the Mac version on for the Mac Pros or whatever. For the M3 Mac Pro, M3 Pro in the Mac. So this is the Pro chip now. These go into the 16-inch laptops. So it's 40% faster than the 16-inch M1 Pro and 20% faster than the 16-inch M2 Pro. And then these are overall devices too, so that you get a reference of that. And for the 16-inch M3 Maxes, so still for the laptops with the Max chips in them, so nobody gets confused, they're 25. Oh, so it's about 2.5 times faster rendering, scene rendering in Cinema 4D, but the for the main statistics and stuff, it for the M1 Max, it's I must have missed it, but for the M1 Max, it's another whole percentage, and but oh no. So instead of talking about how fast the chip was, this is why you take notes. Sometimes notes confuse you, man. But yeah, so this is just talking about the scene for the maxes. They're just talking about the scene rendering in Cinema 4D rather than like how overall faster it is. So it's 2.5 times faster on than the M1 Max version of the Max doing the scene rendering in Cinema 4D, and it's 2 times than the M2 Max. So this is really I want to go into like who is this stuff for? So this is I feel like this is mainly for producing places, whether it's music, movies, shows, all that type of cinema stuff, researchers that deal with either a lot of algorithms, machine learning, data. If you're dealing with a lot of this kind of stuff, you're using a lot of more heavy tools on your laptops. These are who it's for. Developers, they said like, oh, for entrepreneurs and college students, and like, yeah, I feel like that's the case, but you have to take that with a grain of salt. Like maybe the college students that are doing more rigorous research situations or more scene developments and things like that. Probably somebody who's using Blender all the time, for instance. Like I've used Blender on a trash computer before, especially even in doing software engineering majors and computer science majors. Yeah, you might need a way better whole computer for that, but when they were very vague with it, but these are pretty much the people who would need these products. And if you already have an M2, it's probably okay for you to wait because there's still people with M1s who haven't reached that threshold where they need this extra support and system. So that's something that's great and nice. And that's pretty much who it's for. So this whole all the M3s, 22 hours of battery life, and then they brought up their Intel chip versions. This I've pretty much this whole event was for them to try to sell everyone with an M1 or Intel versions of their Macs to upgrade. They're trying to get them to upgrade as soon as possible because they even threw in that it's 11 times faster than their fastest Intel Mac. So like it's another big jump in gap within statistically and how it's being used. So if your products are slowing down and things, then you should look to upgrade. But before you upgrade, we do have some pricing and stuff that we'll get to in a second because the 14-inch Mac Pros they start at 15.99 and the 16 inches start at 24.99. And the M3 Pros will be available like next week, and the M3 Maxes will be available later in November. So give it a few weeks; they'll come out. and everything should be good to go from there. One of the things that I really loved is the color. So I'm kind of mad that I got my M2 Mac now, because who would have thought that 6 months, less than 6 months after I get it, that they're gonna come out with a space black version of M3. Yes, space black. Space black is so clean. It's my favorite color Apple product now. I wish they had space black on everything. So slick and beautiful. I wear a lot of black clothing and things. I feel like it just fits. It's a lot more cleaner of a look. Like monitors and everything have black outlines that I have, and it just fits so much more better. But this is what they coming out of. So space black, I when they said space black, I got so excited. Like I saw the color, it looks so sleek and clean. But they also did it in this color so that people know the differences, so that the Mac seem like a new product in a sense, because the only thing you're really getting was the chip upgrades that you're paying for. But so now they need to give it to you in another color that seems very new. So you feel like you're getting a way bigger upgrade than you really are. Also, especially for the average customer. Average customer doesn't know these whole statistics and stuff. So like, what are they really looking at? Hey, this is a nice color. It's our newest version. May seem like something that's way bigger than it is, and etc. But that's just not the case. And they they use the so in this new Max, you I believe in the iOS update they talked about using widgets and like Apple TV and stuff, but they really brought up using widgets again, and how easy it is to use them, and then watching Apple TV on it, and how clear your shows will be. So that's a whole nother bonus and plus right there that we're getting. But besides that, that's about it for the Macs. One of the things that they did use is they're using the same language in like every event. And if you don't remember, go back to my last podcast about one of their events. They say things like the world's best and all of that. Brand new, world's best, this, world's best that, world's top performing chip, world's best screen rendering, screen viewing, all that design, graphics. It's they use all that language. These events are just to sell, and it's something that's great. But the last product that they revealed after that is their iMacs. They talked about how it has 7 new colors coming out. They're giving it the M3. It's 12.99, and it's going to be available next week if you order today. And it's 2 times faster than the M1 iMaxes, and it talks about all the different stuff you could do on there, like the FaceTimes, all of the touch, adding the Touch ID for more secure things, having that wide screen so you can do all your favorite things at once. One of the things I saw was really cool, in particular though, when they did this part, is being able to scan a document on your phone and it pops right up on your computer. That seems something that's very easy to use, and something that's really cool. It could take away from document scanners that already exist and applications for that, which we'll dive into more later in the episode, because we have some other quick things to talk about, and we're gonna try to get into it as like quick as possible. Obviously these events and stuff, they take so much time to like review and go over. Like you can make probably a 20-minute in-depth episode about each little thing, but just trying to get you guys through quickly, summarize it some. I'm pretty much taking more time talking about this than they were showing it on the screen, but which is a little bit funny. But I am giving extra commentary to all the statistics and things that they're giving, so you're welcome. But besides that, it's pretty much the same. But the coolest thing is they shot it all on the iPhone 15 Pro and then edited it on the Mac. So editing it on the Mac doesn't seem too crazy, but shooting it on the iPhone 15 Pro, these phones are so expensive. Like people have vlogging cameras all the time now, and cameras to record stuff, take pictures. And this is why I say your phones are like one of the most powerful tools that you can ever have. There, you have a whole computer in your hand. They used it to record their event, and it's funny because Elon Musk recently visited the Sphere in Vegas, and I was talking about having events there. I added at him and was like, "Yo, you should do your next tech reveal event in the Sphere. It would be something that's so dope and cool. And if you're able to have that, it's something that's new and that'll be cool to do. Like a tech reveal there. Like, come on now. Yeah, like who else would agree with that? Like Elon, you better get your next reveal there. Whether it's the next Tesla or whatever you have going on, do it there. Trust me. But besides that, like they shot it on the 15 Pro and they just released this product, and you're able to come out with that clear of a quality video of with this new product. Like you don't need a camera no more. You have it in your hand, you have it in your phone, you can upload it to your computer after, do all the editing that you need to do. It's so dope. On my phone, it's a few years. I think I have the 12 Pro, and there's a lot of vlogs that I have to catch up for that. But I mean, that's it. You can get really creative with your whole creativeness, your YouTube, whatever you're doing with your phone, recording, whatever. It's just personal reasons. Like these phones are so powerful now, and the cameras are dope, and like we're getting there. It's the future. So camera companies, they might struggle from this. Like being able to see this, like who needs that $10,000 camera when you have a $2,000 phone? I mean, that does it. I mean, there's still some differences, but to get that kind of production out of it is wonderful and great. So another thing to dive into, what to dive into next, I guess I've seen some rumors about ChatGPT moving to iOS 18, where basically they're going to integrate using language models with Siri. So one of my first questions is, why would ChatGPT be integrated with Siri? And there's two things. One, it will make Siri so much more powerful. Siri would probably be able to do a lot more things. I believe Amazon's going to be doing this with their Alexa to be able to do more powerful commands and things like that, help your task out a lot better, more efficiently, give you better ideas back and feedback back to you rather than some dumb stuff that's based off the web. There maybe it'll be able to be structured a lot better and things. These are all pluses. And I was thinking about this because ChatGPT, they have their own open AI app that you can download on Apple and Androids. But I can see it actually having somewhat of a benefit for people who are using Siri, or people who use Alexas. Even can this may be something that comes to Alexa too, whether Amazon's using this for their AI thing and using language models for to train that better for a certain task. But this is what I was saying like earlier, like these companies are finding ways to bring out the little guys from ever being needed. Like you won't need uh the app no more for ChatGPT in this case for what you want to do here. And you won't need an app to scan documents if you can do it on your phone and bring it to your computer anymore. Like there's certain things like that that just won't be needed anymore, and that's fine. So with that being said, we have one more thing to jump into, and that's about Apple's leaked AirPod roadmap. Roadmap, yes. So recently, Apple's roadmap got leaked, kind of, on their whole AirPod releases and stuff. So we're about to dive into that news right now. So basically, the third gen AirPods weren't really selling as they hoped them to. It really sucks. I mean, they're Apple. They have a bunch of money, but since it wasn't selling like they used to, they were running into a problem where people weren't buying the third gens. They were just buying the least expensive second gen versions. And like honestly, I somebody asked me for some AirPods for their birthday, and I looked at them, and I was like, "Look, you can get the older gen ones. Like these new ones are so expensive. Unless somebody's giving me one for a gift, I'm not gonna go out my way and buy them." So they changed their plan in 2024 to when they release the fourth gen. They're gonna do two things. They're gonna release two sets of AirPod headphones, and I'm gonna assume it's gonna fit a scale with, hey, one's a cheaper version to kind of kick out the second gen one from being bought, and people can buy this new version, and then there's going to be a more expensive version, which is kind of like the third gen, but basically their fourth gen full upgrade, like with all the new stuff and things within them, so that they can still have that higher quality sale as well too. But the roadmap also is going to consist of talking this much really makes your mouth dry, man. Going straight, like always keep water with you because so getting off track, but getting back on track, just how the phones move to USB-C, the AirPods will be as well too. So these two will come out with the USB-Cs as well, so we can look to expect for that. And then we can also potentially hope for newer colors. I was just saying this to a friend not too long ago before I even seen the news on this. Is how come our AirPods, like the ones that you physically put in your ears, not the Maxes, only come in white? Really? Yeah, you can get some stuff on them, and yeah, you can like put emojis on it, a name on it, put whatever you need to put on it and whatnot. But when we have these ones, you they don't come in other colors like the Macs. They don't come in other colors like all the other computers that Apple sells, not like the phones. It doesn't come into these other colors. And maybe if they had the other color options, certain ones would sell more. It would be something new to the AirPods, and they should add it. If you would want new colors with your AirPods, drop it in the comments. Say whatever your favorite Apple color is, whether it's on a phone, Mac, or your headphones, or any of that. Drop them in the comments. And if you have a different favorite color for each product, drop them all too, because it's really interesting. It's really dope. It's something that's cool in my eyes. And like that's a big update that they're missing on their AirPods. Like, yeah, it's in your ears. Maybe some people see them, some people don't. It's still the little things though that some people look forward to and probably wonder why they haven't done it and stuff. So Apple, add some colors to your dang AirPods and add that to the roadmap. But the last thing really of this episode is just it's been a long one. Is basically about the Maxes. They haven't had an update since 2020, so going to 2024, it would be about 4 years of them being the same. And I doubt there's really been any price dropping in them and stuff like that. So I bet some people are also curious about what's new for them. Like, what are you gonna do with that? I know Apple owns Beats, and maybe that's why, because they have both of them and whatnot, and maybe they can't find a way to really embrace a update and a change in them, or they're just prioritizing other stuff, which could also be the case. But I'm really curious about what the future is for them, or if they're gonna stay the same. Then why are we doing that? But whew, it was a long one. It was cool, but I feel like I got through this at a pretty reasonable time. I feel like I got a lot of stuff I can snip it out of here to bring more people to this and get more knowledgeable about some of the stuff, especially if you didn't watch the events. The events are so cool. The visuals in them are pretty dope. It's cool to see what they can do. They all look pre-recorded and stuff, which is another thing. I was always wondering how the behind the scenes worked for some of these events. Some of them, yes, some of them are live events, but this one in particular, like, yeah, they released it live, quote unquote, but it's really just like they had to do a lot of recording prior to that and put it together. And they showed the behind the scenes, and I feel like there's really, they had to do a lot of different editing and a bunch of different stuff like that. So that's a cool way of doing it, man. It definitely gave me some ideas for the future if I was ever somebody who hosted an event like this. And things looking at the behind the scenes when they were showing that it was shot by iPhone, which is another selling point they got into. But what do you guys think about the event? What do you guys think about the new products coming out? Do you think it's just another money grab for Apple, like their iPhones every year? Or what do you guys think it really is truly? Like, let me know. Drop all your hot takes, drop all your, if anything that you thought about this episode into the comments. Let me know, man. Comments are so important. Want to engage with you guys all, want to do better, want to grow and stuff like that. Maybe you guys heard something that I may have missed and all of that, etc. But thank you for stopping in. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. and or follow whatever platform you're listening on. Drop a comment, like it, and sharing just so we can get this out as far and wide as possible to everybody who's curious about these news and wants to know more. So, as without further ado, see you guys next week. Like always, look out for some shorts and have a good week. Be safe.